All right, we're playing on with our new Ghia today. It's a semi-auto is the biggest thing, and we thought we'd play with it for a little while as is, but the semi-auto we hate it. We hate it. It's got to go. So I tried to think ahead and get all the stuff we need for this. That's what I would call a core transmission. It's an IRS. Throw-out bearing here. We got both style Bowden tubes. I think one's just a little longer. I got both style just to be sure that I would have what we need to get the job done today. Got a new clutch cable. Got a new wing nut for the clutch cable. Got a brand new coupling. Not, but a new coupling is never a bad thing. Oh, before we get off the clutch cable, the way I understand it, I could be mistaken, but I believe the first semi-auto was a 68. And I believe at 68 through 71 or 2, they had a different chassis that didn't have a clutch tube inside the tunnel. So those can be a nightmare to convert over. Before we bought this car, before I bought this car, I verified that it did have a clutch tube in it. I believe in 73, this is a 73, they switched to having all the same chassis. So this has a clutch tube in it, so that all we have to do is slide that cable in and we're done. We don't have to do any welding or anything. Oh, there's the wing nut. So more on that later, I guess. You need a flywheel to convert the engine over. This one's kind of grody looking, but I think it's okay. And we got like leftover stuff for the rest. That disc is like half wore out. This is an EMPI pressure plate, and I don't even know what pound rating it is. It's what I would call a no name, even though EMPI is a known name. But hopefully these things will work. And I got a stock pedal assembly that probably needs a little bit of lubing up and stuff like that. And we got a shifter. We're gonna go back to rip and tear mode on that. Got to get it out before we get the new in. All right, this car has been semi-autoed. Trans is out. All the goofy canisters and everything are out. We took the pedals out. Probably can't see in this video. This car's gonna need floors at some point, but we got the pedals out. We double verified there is a clutch tube in there. Got the shifter out, the pedal assembly. There's the new pedal assembly. I'm lubing it up here and transferring over the shift rod and stuff, or not the shift rod, the brake rod. In my mind, that adjustment should be about right. Got the semi-auto starter is the good one. Some people say when you convert to manual, you got to convert the starter too. You don't. These bolt right in. They don't have the guiding bushing in here, so these are actually a better starter than the 4-speed starter. And this is the starter that I run in all my other cars, just because it's better. For my 13.5 to 1 compression drag car, the starter spins it over every time. So there's the starter or the transmission out. They're actually not as complicated as you would think. There's not that much to them. But there's the torque converter. So yeah, it's not a semi-auto car anymore. All right, found something that needs attention. Whenever you take the pedals out of a VW, always check where the cable hooks right here, because sometimes it wears like that. This one is what I would consider end of life. So I got to either find another arm or weld that up and grind it down and file it and all that. So I think I'm going to try welding it and see if I can save that. Got to make sure you got smooth operation here from any angle. All right, so I'm ready to feed in the cable. What I do is as I feed it in, I get a little bit of grease on the tip of this grease gun, and I just take some on my fingertips and just grease the cable as it goes in. And go in that hole and go back maybe an inch. You can feel where the end of the tube ends. And Connor is gonna watch this end and watch for it to pop out this end. And then we're ready to put the pedals in. And that's the worst job in the world, because you got to keep the hook hooked on the cable. But anyway, let's feed this cable through. Trying to figure out a shift rod, and I got all the sockets lined up here for all the shift rods I have. This is the one that came out of this car, so I wrote semi-auto on it. This is one I had leaning against the wall. It's the exact same length, so I'm guessing that came out of another semi-auto car. This one came out of a 79 bug we had. I don't know what this one is. This one came out of a 66 or 67 swing axle car, and it's way long. And the way I understand it, the early cars had a longer shift rod, so the shifter was further forward, but they had an angled handle to make up for it. So that makes sense that the early car would be the longest, and then all these are shorter because they went to a straight shifter in later years. So basically this one won't work. According to our measurements, I'm jumping around a little bit here. According to our measurements, we want to be about 700 thousandths longer. These two semi-auto rods are about, I think, 450 thousandths shorter than this one. So it's not really a length I would like, but it's definitely the closest length to what's going to work for us. This is like 1.5 inches longer, whatever this one is. So we won't use that one or this one. And these two are the semi-autos. So this looks like our best bet. I'd rather try one and have it be very slightly wrong than to mess with cutting and welding and making our own, because then the weld doesn't want to go through the bushing and things like that. So we're going to try this one, whether it works or not. All right, the shift knob out of the, the shift rod out of the 79 seems to work perfectly. My measurements weren't exactly right, but, well, my measurements were right, but according to my measurements, this rod was like 20 thousandths too short, but like there's like a 1/2 inch of shifter adjustment there. So 20 thousandths, like I fuss over that, but that's nothing. So we discovered our bushing was bad. So I ordered 2 yesterday. They're like $1.50 each. But we considered this temporarily assembled. We put a stock shifter that we had just sitting on the shelf temporarily in just to make sure that all 4 gears hit, and they do. So there you go. A 79 Beetle shift rod will work in a 73 Ghia semi-auto conversion. All right, something we forgot about the conversion that we didn't realize until the engine was in the car was you got to put these studs, you got to install them. Apparently the semi-auto uses bolts, not studs and nuts. So luckily I had a pair of these, so we Loctited them, double nutted them, ran them in. So now it should go in. But that's something I definitely didn't think about. Real quick, I forgot to mention, you have to also change the oil pump to the non-semi-auto style. The semi-auto has 2 pumps stacked up. The engine pump and the transmission pump are just stacked right up on top of each other. And you can't just, well, I don't know. You could probably just cap it and run it the way it is, but the right way is to buy an oil pump for a 4-speed car, which I would consider a normal, and make sure you get the right pump that has the right cam engagement shaft length, I guess I would say. I just forgot to film it or mention it in the video, but you have to do that.